The Bureau of Customs destroys 50 million pesos worth of confiscated fake goods from a warehouse it raided last December in Pasay City. The agency used a crusher and shredder machines to tear up counterfeit shoes, clothes, and watches as mandated by the Customs Modernization and Tariff Act. The said goods were seized after its consignee failed to present tax payment certifications and other pertinent documents.
Bawal po ang pag-import ng merong intellectual property rights violations, mga peking commodities. This is also prohibited by the Intellectual Property Code of the Philippines.
Authorities have launched a massive hot pursuit operation against NPA rebels following an attack on a police station in Lapinig, northern Samar this morning. Vincent Arboleda tells us why.
The PNP Regional Mobile Force Battalion and Philippine Army are now hunting for at least 50 suspected rebels who stormed the Lapinig Municipal Police Station early Friday. According to Chief Inspector Davin Brillantes of the Northern Police Provincial Office, the alleged members of New People's Army on board 2 trucks attacked the police station. But the 7 on-duty police personnel were able to fight back in a crossfire that lasted for nearly half an hour.
Pito sa loob ng istasyon. Overrun na yung istasyon. Kaya ang nangyari kasi sa sobrang at sa lumaban naman ang ating kapulisan.
The rebels then retreated, but not without taking with them 10 M16 rifles, 2 Glock 17 pistols, 1 Beretta, some bullets, magazines, laptop, and personal money and belongings of policemen. 2 cops identified as PO2 Jerry Kilicol and PO1 Edison Aguirre were wounded in the incident.
Nakatap kami ng further investigation. So parang sa aming initial ay lumalabas na mga NPA itong umatake sa istasyon.
Police and military checkpoints are also set up in all entry and exit points of the municipality. Vincent Arboleda, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
A member of the consultative committee welcomes the clarifications made by Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez on his recent comments against federalism. Dean Ranhilio Aquino hopes this will give way to more intelligent and deeper discussions on charter change and the proposed federalism in the Congress. Aquino earlier slammed Dominguez for saying he would not approve federalism as it did not address important issues about the economy and could not be subjected to financial analysis. In a statement, Dominguez clarified that he and the economic team of the administration are not opposing federalism, but are merely raising concerns with respect to its ambiguous fiscal provisions. After clearing the issue, Aquino now hopes for better communication among government officials.
I think we should thank you for that statement, that clarification. And I hope that from now on, government speaks with one voice in support of federalism.
Meanwhile, the House Committee on Appropriations is set to return to the Department of Budget and Management the 2019 proposed national budget submitted to the Congress. Committee Chairman Carlo Nograles says the lawmakers want the DBM to restore all the cuts it made on the budget of government agencies and change it into an obligation-based budgeting system. Nograles and other Solons have earlier expressed opposition to the proposed shift to cash-based budget system following cuts on agencies and their districts' budgets. House leaders will also request the Senate to return the budget reform bill they approved in March in order for the lower chamber to introduce amendments on its cash-based budgeting system provisions. Nograles claims they were not informed of the fact that the said system would result to deep budget cuts.
When binenta ninyo yung budget reform bill sa amin, it's a beautiful concept. You bid the project, award the project, implement the project, complete the project, and pay the project within one fiscal year. It's a beautiful concept, and that's why we all agreed that we will support it. But when we saw the consequence, when we saw the consequence na nagkaroon ng slashing dito and slashing doon, doon namin realize ganito pala ito.
And in other news, an election watchdog is proposing to use a hybrid election system for the 2019 midterm polls following allegations of irregularities during the 2016 automated national elections. Lawyer Glenn Chong of the Tanggulang Demokrasya believes a hybrid poll system will help avoid election fraud like what allegedly happened in the last national elections.
Wala pong pinagkakaiba ito sa Smartmatic. Mas mura pa ang sistema, meron ka ng hawak na ebidensya dahil nabilang at nakita mo yung pagbibilang ng boto.
Chong has claimed discrepancies in election results, citing early transmissions made to 459 PCOS machines a day before the May 2016 elections. Chong says the 459 precincts can generate around 220,000 votes, which is significant in ongoing electoral protest because Vice President Leni Robredo led the count then by 200,000 votes against former Senator Bongbong Marcos.
Ang lamang po ni Leni Robredo against BBM is 263,000. So 220,000 is very material. Yun lang po masasabi ko. But I'm not saying na the votes were cheated by one against the other.
The Metro Manila Development Authority, or MMDA, will hold a dry run on August 15 for the re-implementation of the high occupancy vehicle scheme along EDSA. Under the traffic scheme, cars only carrying drivers will be banned from plying EDSA during rush hour from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. and then from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. The scheme encourages motorists going to the same area to carpool to reduce the number of vehicles traveling through EDSA. Violators of the policy will be fined with 1,000 pesos. The MMDA, however, clarifies that solo driving will only be prohibited in EDSA and drivers are still allowed to ply on the side streets.
Ang ipinopromote natin dito, baka kayo naman isang pamilya, mag-asawa, on the way yung isa, baka pwede isang sasakyan na lang kayo. Kung kayo po magkaklase, magka-village, magka-opisina, baka pwedeng magsama na kayo sa sasakyan.
The Philippine Competition Commission clears Grab Philippines' acquisition of rival Uber in the country in a commitment decision it issued today. However, the merger is subject to certain conditions to address anti-competitive concerns including service, quality, fair transparency, pricing, driver-operator, non-exclusivity commitment, incentives monitoring, and improvement plan commitment, including the removal of its masking destination feature. Grab will be monitored for a minimum period of 6 months and will be slapped with a penalty if it violates the said commitment.
Ang public naman po, pwede naman kayo anytime na magsumbong sa PCC kung meron kayong nakikitang behavior na sa tingin ninyo ay anti-competitive. Na ibig sabihin, sa inyong palagay, ito ay masamang behavior na dulot ng pagiging isang monopolyo.
Grab Philippines, meanwhile, assures it will act responsibly and adhere to the voluntary commitments. Members of the Philippine National Police and the Philippine Army are now pursuing at least 50 members of the New People's Army who allegedly attacked the Lapinig Municipal Province Station in northern Samar this morning. The armed group allegedly took a dozen firearms and ammunitions, personal money, and belongings of policemen after a crossfire that injured 2 of the 7 on-duty policemen. Police and military checkpoints have also been set up in all entry and exit points of the municipality.
Kakanta pa kami ng further investigation. So parang sa aming initial ay lumalabas na mga NPA itong umatake sa istasyon.
And for the news abroad, here's Stephanie C. live from Hong Kong. Stephanie, good evening.
Good evening, William. Venezuelans fleeing from their country find hope for a new life in Brazil following the reopening of its borders. Tito Paz tells us why.
An exodus of Venezuelans is threatening to overwhelm services in the northern border city of Brazil, after a federal appeals court judge overturned a ruling that had barred migrants fleeing economic and political turmoil back home. Hundreds turn up daily in the city of Pacahima, many without money and forced to sleep out on the streets. The scenes are reminiscent of desperate migrants fleeing war in Syria, but this is Brazil, and the waves of Venezuelans have put pressure on authorities and tested local tolerance.
That is my intention, to spend all my life here in Brazil. Not to be here out on the street. My hope is to find a place to live, look after my family, and to return home.
Y volver a mi casa, pues.
Bueno, me siento bien porque
I feel good because I've got what I've come for. Now I'm going there to Boa Vista, which is where I want to go, to see what opportunities there are.
Allá a Boa Vista que
Roraima State, where Pacahima is located, went to a Brazilian court to ask that the border be closed until the state could create humanitarian conditions to receive the migrants. On Sunday, a federal judge agreed with the state, but the decision was overturned Tuesday by appeals court judge Castro, who acknowledged grave violations of the public and judicial order. He added closing the border would not improve humanitarian conditions for Venezuelans fleeing their country. Nearly 33,000 Venezuelans had asked for asylum in Brazil as of April 30, while another 25,000 had entered the country by other means, including humanitarian visas, labor and migration visas. The United Nations Refugee Agency has set up a base in Pacahima to help process fleeing Venezuelans.
We are offering assistance to those people coming from Venezuela, to those who are vulnerable. We are offering support. We are offering the help that the Brazilian state is giving.
Venezuela is in the grip of a severe economic crisis, with shortages of food, medicines, and other essentials, and periodic waves of protests against leftist President Nicolas Maduro. Tito Paz, UNTV News and Rescue, Latin America.
Italian police found 20 tons of hash worth as much as 200 million euros in the fuel tanks of a Panama-flagged ship that was stopped in international waters and escorted to Sicily. The research and survey vessel Remus left the Canary Islands bound for Egypt and Turkey, but police surveillance showed it had turned off its position transmitter near the coast of North Africa, raising investigators' suspicions. With the permission of Panamanian authorities, Italian finance police seized the vessel in international waters on July 31st and escorted it to Palermo. There, the fuel tanks were drained and the hash was discovered wrapped in sealed brown bags. The entire 11-person crew, all from Montenegro, was arrested for international drug trafficking. Officials in southern India have opened the shutters of water reservoirs as floods and incessant rains kill at least 20 people. Meanwhile, a person went missing and over 1,000 were evacuated in France. Beverly Saison tells us why.
In France, heavy floods have forced the evacuation of 1,600 people, most of them campers in southern France. Officials say a 70-year-old German who was helping to supervise children at one of the summer camps is missing. The worst-hit areas are Gard, Ardèche, and Drôme. The flooding comes after southern France and much of Europe experienced unusually hot weather. In a statement, the French Interior Ministry said 6 departments were placed on a flood alert. In India, torrential rains and landslides killed at least 20 people in southern India on Thursday, with the authorities opening the shutters of 24 water reservoirs in an unprecedented move to prevent potentially disastrous breaches. Officials says the June to September rains in Kerala state have cost 175 lives and damaged crops worth $49.81 million across 26,824 hectares since their onset on May 29th. The State Meteorological Department forecasts rains to continue till Monday. The National Disasters Response Force teams and India's Army, Air Force, Navy, and Coast Guard had been enlisted to help in rescue operation for the civilians stuck in flooded areas. And in California, holy fire has spread to 9,600 acres and is only 5% contained according to reports from fire officials. This was more than double the size of the blaze was on Wednesday night. The growth of the fire is threatening residential areas with around 20,000 residents under mandatory evacuation orders. Schools have been closed in Menifee, Paris, and Lake Elsinore in line with air quality concerns. So far, the blaze has destroyed 12 structures since it began in the Cleveland National Forest. Beverly Saison, UNTV News and Rescue.
And those are the news from the other parts of the globe. Back to you, William.
Thank you very much, Stephanie C. live from Hong Kong. NASA plans to use the planet Venus in its mission to get closer and crack the mysteries of the sun's corona. Kath Carriedo tells us why.
NASA outlines its plans to touch the sun ahead of space launch on Saturday from Kennedy Space Center in Florida that will send a probe on a 7-year mission closer to the sun than any other spacecraft has ventured. Scientists say the Parker Solar Probe will come 3.83 million miles from the surface of the sun.
The first thing we will do when we get on orbit is encounter the planet Venus. We use Venus to give us a gravity assist, if I could have that Venus thing. We do a little gravity assist. It's a bit like a handbrake turn. We're not like those other missions. We don't take energy from the planet. We give it generously. And we actually slow down just a little bit. And that allows us to shrink our orbit and go closer to the sun than anything has been before.
The mission, designed to crack mysteries about the sun and stars, like it to beat the heat. It's armed with a secret weapon that can keep its instruments at a balmy 30 degrees Celsius, a high-tech, lightweight thermal shield. Scientists hope that the data collected by the Parker Solar Probe will help them better predict space weather, providing enough warning of events to allow these crucial systems to be buffered from harm. The entire project costs $1.5 billion and the mission will continue until 2025. Kath Carriedo, UNTV News or Rescue, USA.
A grandmother in Taiwan proves that thrill-seeking is not just for youngsters as she takes a paragliding ride across the Taichung city sky. Gray-haired 93-year-old Wu Ruilin was smiling and waving her hands as she flew in the clear summer sky. The paragliding company confirmed that Wu is the oldest customer they have ever had, following media reports that she is the oldest in Taiwan to ever take a paragliding ride. According to Wu, this is already her second paragliding ride and she is willing to take on the challenge again when she is 100 years old. The paragliding company gave Wu a red envelope, traditionally a gift for special occasions, and promised to give her a free ride when she becomes a centenarian. And those are the reasons behind the news, August 10, 2018. On behalf of Angelo Castro III, I am William Thio. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Good evening.